Good afternoon, class. Hi, my name is Paul Duvall, and today I'm going to talk about pet adoption and volunteering at your local animal shelter. Now, the reason why I am talking about this subject is because over 4 million adoptable animals are euthanized every year at your local animal shelters. That breaks down to about 9,000 animals every day. It breaks down even more to even up to 6 animals every minute are euthanized at your local animal shelters. Now, these are animals that are adoptable, that are just looking for a home. To put it in more perspective, by the time I finish this presentation, between 25 and 30 adoptable animals have been euthanized. Now, it is true, not all animals that go to animal shelters are adoptable. Some enter animal shelters because of injury or illness, they've been abused, or they're just too old. And sometimes the most humane thing to do is to put them to sleep. But for the rest of the animals, the ones that are adoptable, they're just looking for a home. And here's where you can help. Adopting an animal at your local animal shelter is the right thing to do. Now, I understand a lot of people, when they think, hey, I'd like to get a pet for themselves or their family, the first place they think of is their local mom and pop pet store, or PetSmart, or even looking in the newspaper for people who are selling cats and dogs, etc. But you should go to your local animal shelter, because you're not just adopting an animal, you're saving a life. Now, this is where my first topic comes into play. We're talking about adoption. Now, you would be surprised, when you go to an animal shelter, it's actually a pretty lengthy process. You don't just walk in and say, hey, I want a puppy, and walk out and take it home. You're going to be required to fill out paperwork, show that you have a place to live, a place for the animal to live. They're going to ask you things like, do you have other pets? Do you have children? What veterinary service are you going to use? And of course, they're going to ask you what pet you're looking for. Now, you might think, what do you mean, what pet are you looking for? Well, you would be surprised that a lot of animal shelters don't just have cats and dogs. You might find rabbits, rats, mice, hamsters, parrots. Some animal shelters even have horses and donkeys, depending on where you are at your local animal shelter. Now, once you've chosen an animal to adopt and you fill out all the paperwork, they're going to come to your home. And they're going to interview you, and they're going to make sure you do have a safe home to bring the animal to. After all is done and you are approved, then you take your animal home and it becomes part of your family. Now, most animal shelters will require you to spay and neuter your animal. Now, spay and neutering is a sterilization of the animal. They do this to minimize the number of animals that end up going back to animal shelters. Now, there is a cost for this, but generally animal shelters work with local programs like the ASPCA to give you a discounted cost for getting the animal spayed or neutered, or they have veterinarians that work with the shelters that give you a lower cost so you can get the animal spayed or neutered. Now, the other way that you can help, if you're not looking to actually adopt an animal, you could always volunteer your time. Now, most animal shelters and animal rescues organizations around the country are run off volunteers and donations. So it's always accepted. You go to your local animal shelter, you tell them you'd like to volunteer and how much time you can volunteer. In a way, it's almost like you're adopting all the animals at the animal shelter themselves. And of course, if you have any spare change, you can always donate money to your animal shelter. Now, I've discussed what happens to many of the animals that enter these animal shelters, and I've discussed how you can keep that number down through adoption or even volunteering at an animal shelter. So just remember, next time you're looking for a pet, don't just go out and buy one, adopt one. Because remember, adopting is not just adopting a pet, you're saving a life. So I'd like to tell you thank you very much for listening to this presentation, and I hope you have a wonderful evening and a great Thanksgiving. My name is Paul Duvall, and goodbye.